Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining me. Today's reading is going to be, where will you be in 5 years' time? This is my plan. I'm going to look at the progression of things, where you're coming from, possibly where you're going. I'm going to do a little tiny spread over here with regards to the changes that will lead up to that. And then the end card will be the story that you will tell. So in 5 years' time, when you're sat on your couch and you're telling your friends, my God, this is where I am, and this was difficult, or this was fun, and this is the bits I left behind of myself, and this is where I ended my career, and this is the relationship that I've been through, or this is the person that I met that I'm going to marry, that type of thing. You've got three choices. The first one is a very sexy green lizard. For number one, you've got the raccoon for number two with judgment, and you have got the justice with the parrot for number three. So if you want to take your choice, we'll have a look.
La música de Harry Fraud.
Hi there, pile number one. I've restarted because this has got a really interesting feel to it, but it's got a huge shift with regards to your life being completely different from where you are now than in 5 years' time. I'm trying to think why. The clue that we've got here basically for myself is the Hierophant card. So I'm thinking the Hierophant card is often quite, to me it's Taurian, and Taurian can be a very earthy card, obviously. It can have to do with finances or money, but because the Hierophant to me always has that sort of everything's quite controlled type of feeling, it could be a setup that you have in your life that collapses, hence why you've got the Tower card at the very beginning, which is a biggie, and this is a structure. So to me, and you've got the Hangman crossing that, looking at things from a different perspective. To me, it feels like you build something up, the Tower card, in your life that you feel is correct for you, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a career, whether it's just set up in a certain place in the world, and you're living it, and then you have what I guess is, through maybe growing older, more confidence, the Strength card here, a total shift in mindset. You've got the Three of Wands behind with the Strength card here. So these could indicate Strength card subconsciously, being more in your power, being more aware of yourself. It comes from a place when you move through life through being who you want to be, rather than the Hierophant card is who you're told to be. So the area that this shifts, I'm not sure as yet, as there are probably 3 or 4 possibilities here. The Three of Wands here is starting gradually to feed that different mindset. The Hangman, how you view the world, is a bit like the Hermit in some way. You start feeding your different mindset out bit by bit, or you start realising that you are changing. And then the Tower card there, that change happens. This to me has got almost, when you watch films or you watch, real life things like people in work, and you start thinking, oh my God, I like the way you did that, or that's unusual, I never really thought of that, or imagine living here, or imagine actually throwing your job in, imagine doing that thing that you thought was impossible. And it starts niggling at you. You start doing little things, starting conversations with the Three of Wands, talking to people about changes that are going to happen. And gradually, without even knowing it because this is almost like nipping at things to me. It's like a thought that turns into action. You're waiting to see what comes by. So it's not totally planted. It's just being formulated in some way. Action is being formulated. With the Strength card here, in doing that, in changing your mindset, you almost start changing your personality. It's a bit like a progressed sun when it goes into a fire sign to me. It's then you start thinking, okay, maybe I can do this, maybe I'm capable of this. Is it going to be easy? The Ten of Wands, no. I feel that you possibly, when people change, they get opposition. It's just, they do. Right, I'm back here. Sorry. I was just saying, and I've got another thing there because I've just made a mistake, was that when this change comes, you're going to find it difficult because people don't like people that change because it makes them feel unsettled. And then I went into basically some spiel about saying Sadhguru used to go around in jeans and t-shirts, and then he changed to wearing his turban and, you know, his long clothes and things. And his old friends used to say, well, why have you changed? But to be honest, we pay more attention to him and he looks like what we expect a guru to look like. And then I started making jokes about beards. Which is not funny. So I cut it out. And hopefully it is cut out. If not, it's still there and I'm a fool. So that is it. I feel that you'll come across what feels like life is difficult because you are reinventing yourself in some way, hence why you've got the Sun card, because the Sun card is initiation. It's like everything out on the table. To me, this feels like, and I could be totally wrong here, but it feels like living a situation that you almost get entrenched in, you think is right because you forget to put your head above the parapet, is that the right word, and to see things differently. And we all do this. Sometimes in a work situation, you get to the point, and I actually got to a point in work where I'm thinking, am I enjoying myself anymore? Only because it was a really difficult school. I'm thinking, I love being with kids and I love teaching, but I'm like, this wasn't fun. And I just kept doing it, thinking, this is the same situation. So we need to look at the Hierophant card here. So what is going to change in your life? The Hierophant card is a construct. It's a business. It can often be a religious perspective. Sorry, it just switched off. I was just saying the Hierophant card can be lots of different things: a business, a marriage, a religious construct. You know, something that we've built up that we think is given to us. That's quite interesting, really, as well, because somebody's asked me. I know who it is, but I don't like to mention names because people have like 10 different names on Patreon and YouTube, so I just thought, no, I better not even go there. She said, can you do a reading on Pluto in Aquarius? And I'm thinking, yeah, I can do. I'll do that. And I think it's more of a general and personal way. I'm thinking religion. By the time that Pluto goes to Aquarius, this is a horrific thing to think about. But if we're going into an AI sort of situation, which we are, and they're already having AI-led sermons in America, where this robot thing is going all the way through all the scriptures, picking out the bits that they think are the best, and then it's a sermon. And that's happening already. That what could happen is there will be a complete change with regards to how we see religion. It's going to because it's going to feel almost otherworldly if it's coming from a place that we don't understand, which will be AI. So that possibly, I don't feel that this is what's going to happen to you, but I feel that it will have the same feeling. It will feel like something that is ready to have a shock factor, the Tower card there. The Hangman card is you possibly being very much aware of yourself and inward looking, and you can sense that change is coming, and so automatically you start feeling a little bit disgruntled with the situations, so you start looking out. But this is coming from a really good base point with the Strength card here. It's coming from a point of confidence and wanting to reach out, hence why you've got the Sun card there. It's fire, it's expansion, it is like wanting the truth. The Sun card is wanting to know the truth. Will that be easy? Will some of your viewpoints in life fall down? Yes, possibly. I feel here that you may try and hold on to them a little bit. So there will be. The story that you will tell your friends is this card here. But we've got here the King of Wands, which goes with the fire here. It's you becoming confident in who you are that changes the situation. It's not something that happens immediately, even though you've got the Tower card there. It implies that possibly your whole mindset may change, but these cards here suggest that there's like work put into it. It's like a gradual change, but when you look back in 5 years, you'll realise that you've lost a huge part of yourself. The Page of Cups there, I don't know, to be honest. Defensive. To me, that could be trying to keep emotional ties alive as you change through this situation. I would love to know more about this because I feel like I've given you, thoughts and ideas and shifts, but not actual you could change job. And I know that people, when they look for tarot readings, they want that. I can put a few cards on that to suggest possibilities. But that to me is a huge, oh my gosh. And we're asking 5 years ahead. And I said, as soon as I started this channel and in some of the old videos, and I don't know if I regretted doing it at the time, because I said that 2026 will be a huge shift. And I still feel that is so. I don't know what's going to happen, but you can feel, everybody can feel the tension now, I feel. Internally, externally in the world. And it's like you're part of that, and we will all be part of that. Hence that Pluto Aquarius feeling that we were talking about here. It's almost like through changes, you find your grit, you find your truth through being almost like compressed a bit. And you come out the other end a totally different person. You've still got kept standing here. You've still got the need to relate to people, to keep part of yourself alive. But it's like being tested, and you end up coming out in a better place because you don't look outwards for approval, or you don't look for maybe even to authority for approval with the Strength card and the Sun card here. Because this, the Hierophant card is the man who holds the secret to all the scriptures, that hands it to people on their knees. So there is that sort of situation going on there where you question the people in control. So it could have a broader concept like that, but it could also be if you've got a very, authoritarian parent, lover, husband, wife, job situation. It's like you don't take it on the chin anymore. You're like, okay, I've had enough of that. This is more like less of movement, but more recognising who you want to be, seeing through the world as it is. So it's got more of a sort of esoteric more, and the esoteric can also be a little bit more fluffy when you're reading tarot cards. It's difficult to pin things down because it is movement inside ourselves, and both are equally valid. But I know people want, everyday situations in there too. I guess they do. But this is like working on yourself and holding your ground with people, hence why it's difficult. Let me put a few more out here. The Five of Wands, Five of Cups at the end is loss. It's a big loss. It's a big loss. Okay, I'm going to not look at the cards. I'm going to look at the question to help myself, which is up here. Let me pin it to my board. Where will you be in 5 years' time? The story that you will be telling your friends was that when you started off now, that you didn't really realise how life was going to shift internally and externally. You will say that you felt the rumblings, you felt that change was coming, and you could feel yourself doing things that were almost like pushing for it, because you realised that you felt that if you pushed it, then you would be more aware of what's happening. By pushing yourself out into the world, by changing things, perhaps through research, perhaps through knowing with these cards here, we talked about the Hierophant and the scribes and passing information down, you became more confident and you had more awareness of yourself. It wasn't easy. It's a bit like a wake-up call, which is the Sun card altogether. It will never be easy. People don't like change. They like comfort, and it feels like you almost carry the load. And it's got a bit of a freedom speech type of, what's the word? Not a freedom speaker was a bad word, so I changed it, but I can't think of a better one. It's got a bit of a feeling that somebody that stands up and sees things straight, and then may even oust out families or friends by actually saying, well, actually, no, I don't agree with you. This is what I think. And it's a huge thing, it's very difficult, isn't it? The ways that we've possibly seen over the last 3 or 4 years with what you can say, what you can't say. What always amazes me talking to people who are very much, power to the people. Russell Brand, he basically got hauled up for sexual offences, and then it just totally disappeared. He just carried on, putting his channel up. I don't think it's monetised, but that is bizarre to me. When you have people who were cancelled 4 years earlier and were never seen again. I used to work with a woman who was sacked by this man who was totally mad. He was the head of a school, and he sacked 13 people at once. Anyway, she sacked this older lady. She was probably in her 60s, 70s at the time. She just carried on coming into school. And so he didn't sack her. He didn't get rid of her. She came in. It's got this feeling, it's almost through tenacity that you end up finding your strength, but there's things that are lost here. And I don't know what that is. As I said in a more mundane way, I'm not going to repeat it, but those things that I've said there. And it feels like it's going to be quite a bit of tension here, but in that tension, you come out on top form. So if there was a spirit guide or somebody watching your performance down here, they would be like, good on you. Good on you. You're prepared to sacrifice the constructs, the tarot card that you have for having your own inner strength, even if there will be some, feeling like this is more like a work situation here, where you feel like you're always plugging and there's not the glee and the fun in life, the sort of skippity-doo-dah playtime in life as usual. But at the end of it, you come out a totally different person. You know who you are and where you stand, which in the long-term goal is what everybody wishes for. And again, I always feel as if I need to keep it light on tarot readings, but this is quite a strong pile that speaks of people that want to wake up, really. And it will never be easy. It's people that want to wake up and want to, see things as they are and not be led down some merry paths, which is, it's like you being pushed into what's going on in the world, not being able to ignore it, possibly over the next few years. And what happens is you come out the other side and you will talk. You're sat on the couch talking to your grandchildren. It was like, it could be something like this. I used to be really sweet. I used to really like people to like me. I was in situations where possibly people took advantage of me, or I basically slaughtered myself to be able to provide in the world, or to keep the boat afloat, that type of thing. And eventually it started feeling wrong, and so I started trying to find out who I was and what the situation was exactly, and where I sat in the world, in my job, in my marriage, in my head. And through hard work and through arguments, through having to stand my ground, I actually found out who I was, and I ended up being the person I am now. And I don't take no shit. It's that type of... There's no way you could start with the tower and end in the tower and have the Hierophant there, which is enclosed, and you're stuck there, but you've got change, which is difficult here, and moving out, and strength being the underlying theme in this. So I'm going to leave that there, pile number 1. So I can't remember. I'm going to leave that there, great pile, but definitely something else going on there. Something big going on there. So I would probably, if that was my pile and I saw that and I'm thinking next 5 years ahead, I would be more interested in my moral standing, more interested in expressing who I am than people pleasing. I would ensure the way I reacted with people was always above board and I was happy with myself. And I would know that I'd look back and think, I'm really glad I had that. And I've had that situation in life anyway, normally in a year's phrase, where I've gone abroad and worked for a year and it's not been easy, and flying back on the plane thinking, actually, I'm really glad I did that, even though I cried every night. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. Good luck. Bye. I'll keep it going. Oh, pile number 2. I'm going to have to give you a little bit of the same conversation as pile number 1. The reason being that pile number 1 also started off with a tower card, and you've got the death card at the end. So all I can say, I don't know if there's any truth in this, it's just thoughts. When I first started the channel quite a long time ago, was it, I don't know, about 3 years ago, I didn't keep saying, I said that 2026 will be like a little bit like a tipping point in some way, and it will be quite difficult. And I'm getting nervous here. I suppose we can feel inside ourselves things changing. To me as well, I think everybody can feel inside themselves. And I feel that outside, in our outer world, it feels quite tense at the moment, I would say. So both of these, the last pile number 1, which you may want to watch as well, because it's a very similar feeling, and this pile are reflecting my thoughts on that. because you're starting off with the Tower card and ending the Death card. So if things do get tense over the next few years, there are going to be changes inside ourselves. It's not all outside ourselves, is it? It's going to be something that's going on. And I was talking about Pluto in Aquarius with the last pile very briefly. So let me just go through your pile and I can tell you, beg my pardon, what I can see. The Tower card is a collapse of a situation. So my first thoughts here are that everything that you think you are or that is steady in life in some way seems to shift a little bit, a lot bit. It seems to change. The Page of Wands crossing this is quite a positive spread, even though there's lots of change in it. It makes me feel that in some way, this may be, I don't understand this yet, and it was going to sound strange, but it's somehow that you get the best out of a difficult situation. My dad had a friend when he was young he made fire extinguishers. And just as he'd make them for a couple of years, just as they were like a legal requirement for houses. Anyway, he was very, very rich. So this almost feels like capitalising on, sounds awful, doesn't it, on shifts in life. Don't know what that means as yet because I haven't really looked at the cards. You've even got Judgment up here as well. What's this one here? Temperance. That's nice because it goes with the Empress. Temperance and Empress. The Devil card and the Six of Swords behind in this situation makes me feel that it's difficult to it's like pulling your feet out of mud. You know, you got wellies on, your wellies get stuck. It's like you can't actually, or you don't want, it's like getting out of a hot or cold bath. You know, when you can't get out because outside is even colder, so you're staying in, it's just not right. This is what this feels like. The Devil card is being held into situations, tied by your thoughts or by some other bind or bond. And the Six of Swords, it's quite difficult to move from that, even though you know it's the right thing. It's difficult to get out of the bath, even though you know it's not going to get warmer because there's no warm water left. Yeah, we had a big family. It's that situation there. It's the Tower card with the Devil behind and the Six of Swords. But because you've got a positive card crossing it, and these two cards moving forward are positive, it's almost like there's the Empress and I can't say them together. I'm going to say the Empress and the Temperance because that's what's going on in my head. Are both cards of ease and growth in life. It's almost like you flourish in a difficult situation, a bit like, I wrote a newsletter on this, like ginseng. You know, the harder the situation, sometimes the more power that plant has because it's growing difficult. It's growing on like hillsides somewhere, isn't it? That's like freezing. It feels like the same situation. You don't want to do it. You're in a situation that you don't want to face head on and you're stuck where you are and you feel that that's not right, but there's some growth that's had. It's like an idea that you have. It's like a movement. And the Empress and the Temperance feel like flow, they feel like growth, they feel like expansion. And what would those two be together? They are the growth. 14. And the death, and after change, that's when you grow. This is what it feels like to me. In 5 years' time, it feels like you start, probably now, feeling the pressure and almost like you're on a time limit in some way. You know, a bit like when people close to you die or your parents die. I'm not predicting that whatsoever. I'm just saying when that type of thing happen, you get a shift in yourself. You think, well, my time's limited as well. Even when, you know, I suppose you've got to be older to think this. I definitely think it. I keep thinking, well, I've got, you know, I could not be here next year. And I keep thinking, well, what do I want to do? And it's like, that's when you really start growing, when you feel like you're on the edge of a cliff. So the Tower card is like, okay, something has changed, shifted in my mindset, in my environment, in my living situation, in my work situation, and I want to start something fresh. But you feel a bit sort of stuck to begin with because you're so used to what's gone on in the past, and it feels like a long journey. The Empress card there is like making its form, it's making things, it's growing things. And the Temperance card there is using your talents, the five. The five is always like human talents. It's like, is it the quintile? Yeah. By quintile, it's that type of feeling. It's using your gifts. The pressure allows you to use your gifts in a different arena, is what I think here, and hence why you've got the Death card, the complete change. The Ace of Swords also with the Empress card there. It's like you have an idea already possibly up your sleeve, and through working really hard and not taking an emotional viewpoint and the things that fall away in the process is the way forward to get into a situation where you will tell your grandchildren or you will tell your friends, I was a totally different person 5 years ago. Because this is the End card, which is death. And it's not meaning you're going to die. The number 13 is not dying. It's just a bit like the Tower card. It's just change. And we are in constant change. It's just when we get to that point when it's our turn, basically. And sometimes we do it in group situations as well. So to start summarising here, where will you be in 5 years' time? What will you be saying to your kids or your grandchildren or to your best buddy? You'll be saying that I could feel change was coming on a internal scale and an external scale, if you know what I mean. I felt like I wanted to stay where I was, although it felt like I was not expressing myself. It felt like I had to keep quiet, or it felt like I was stuck, and it just felt like I wasn't really being myself. I knew the journey. This is so similar to part number one. I'm really sorry. It might be worth watching both. I know the journey would be difficult, but it wasn't as difficult as I thought. I had an idea, and I started to put that into action in some way. And in that, everything started to flourish. And in making that movement, I changed internally too. I became more giving. I became more open. I became more allowing, less structured, less concerned with earthly concerns. Sex, finances, relationships, that type of thing, are more concerned with spirituality and creativity. It was almost like a epiphany, the Ace of Swords and the Page of Wands. But it was difficult to get myself established in what made me feel like I had some more flow in my life. But I didn't react to situations emotionally. I reacted to situations and the changes in a very logical manner. Is that what's next? And now I'm in a totally different a whole different situation, and better for it. This moves from earthly concerns to spiritual flow through some form of shake-up or compression. And as I said in pile number one, I would love to give you examples of more down-to-earth examples rather than internal or more worldly examples possibly. And I can try, but it won't be your situation. It's like going to work in a city and keeping your head down. This is the past. Keeping your head down, feeling that something isn't quite right, but you're enjoying the money, and you'd be silly to lose a job because people struggle. You're really lucky because you went to college and you got this job and it feels good, and it's just keeping you afloat, but something's niggling. Then you get made redundant. And in that redundancy, this little idea that you had in your mind, I'll just put a little bit of money towards that. It's not easy to set that up, but in that flow, it may be something more creative. It's expressing yourself, and in that you become more aware of your true spirit, I suppose, with the Temperance card there. And it's a huge life change. And it's reminding you you will still have to work hard, but you're working hard for something that has more meaning to you in the grander scheme of things. And the King of Swords here would possibly be that not having an emotional reaction to the change, that you're in charge of your emotions. You see things as, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to pull myself together. It's not the end of me. It's not a difficult situation. Life's changing. It's asking for a new me. The life in a big scale is changing and asking for new us. And you do a really good job of it. So you come out on top, really, to be honest, through difficult circumstances. It is like being compressed and almost like you explode into something that, like a flower pot. The Emperor's card, it's like, a whole bunch of flowers, which is far better than the Devil card there. And you've got the Judgment at the top again, which is almost like a different lifestyle. So there's big changes coming to pile 1 and pile number 2, which doesn't surprise me, considering in the back of my mind, we can all feel that, I feel. It's like you find your people, is what I would say there. You find your people, and it's got a more bohemian flair about it than in the past here. It's really difficult to find that combination between being bohemian and actually, eating. So, but I think that you do a really good job of it. So nice, but very similar to pile number 1, so you may want to watch that. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye and go on to pile number 3. Bye-bye, pile number 2. Hi there, pile number 1. I'm sorry, not pile number 1, you're pile number 3. This is just a false start, so I'm going to start talking fast with what I've got here. The question is, where will you be in 5 years' time? At the beginning, we've got the 2 queens laid on top of each other, the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Wands. To me, that feels like empowerment in some way with regards to how you'll see yourself and how you conduct yourself in a very earthly realm. And you've got the Queen of Wands there. It's more, because they're both queens, it's got a feeling of, as I said, empowerment, but it's like, no, I don't know if I can say that. The Queen of Wands is confidence, is what I'm going to say. Confidence in how you see yourself in the outside world. So that could be you're very much in control of your work, your job, your house, your home, your finances. Everything's going well in the next few years. You've got here the 7 of Pentacles behind and the 8 of Swords. This is more of a backdrop here to what's going to happen. The 7 of Pentacles is moving slowly, possibly, working hard. You've worked your way to where you are today, and you're happy with where you are, how far you've come. The 8 of Swords here could also indicate being slightly, my first thoughts are, because I can see the Emperor at the top, my first thoughts there are a thought of, and I think everybody gets this, it's that feeling of when you get what you want, are you really sure you wanted it? Or was it coming from a place of not being able to take your blindfold off? That place of, was I being pushed by my demons slightly, a little bit there? The position that you will know this, the position that you possibly would like to be in or like to achieve, or maybe already in the process of, are you being driven by needs, wants, desires rather than expression, is probably what I would say here. The Emperor card at the top makes me think that you accomplish your aims and your desires. You get what you want. This is my third star. It's really difficult to say. The reason why is because to me this is the story of the Happy Prince, and I don't want to go into a different story. So I'm flicking in my mind between the pair here. Because the Emperor card is achievement in a very, I'm going to say mundane, but what I mean is real world, an earthly world, Capricorn. Achievement. You've worked really hard for it. Very Capricornian, very long-winded, very much aiming, head down. Nobody can trip me up. I just get up, I'll keep going. I'm not going to make a fuss about it, but I'm going to get where I want to be. And there you are. And you feel empowered. But also with that Capricorn edge of the Emperor, will you be driven by the need to be seen? Like possibly a lot of famous people are. The need to be loved by lots of different people. And at times, I guess, people who are famous can also feel a little bit empty, that something's missing. You've also got the Aries part, which must be the Queen part. Funny, isn't it? Obviously now, you've got the Earth and the Fire of the Emperor in these 2 cards. So I feel at the moment, because these are the first part of the spread, you're already compressing this situation so that it's going to build on. You're going to end up being in what I guess is a very... seen as very proficient by yourself and by others. So getting the job you want, being in the situation that you want, or looking like in a very earthly, worldly arena, you're exactly where you want to be or need to be. And you work really hard for it and you deserve it. But there's something missing here. And if you know the story of the little prince, the happy prince, sorry, his heart breaks. So that's what reminded me of it. He goes from being above the city, looking at all the people like little ants, you know, in difficulties and, you know, very sort of everyday things where life can often be quite hard. And he gives bits of himself, the jewels in his eyes, he's a statue, by the way, and the jewel from his sword to alleviate the suffering of the people in the town. And at the end, the little swallow, yes, I read this to kids once and cried in the middle of it when the swallow died. The little swallow, I feel my voice going now. Suppose was on his way flying to Egypt, but he helps the prince, and then eventually he freezes. So he dies if you don't know the story, he dies at the prince's feet, and then the prince, who is the statue, and his lead heart breaks. There's heartbreaking this, but as the whole story is based, Little Prince, I think, is based on the story of Buddha. There's a lot of correlation going there. It's in my newsletter. It's got a lot to do with learning compassion for ourselves and for others. The whole story as the Little Prince and your story here, your next 5 years. To have your heart broken but to end in the Sacred Heart is very significant. And you've got here in the centre pile the Wheel of Fortune. It's like you're riding the wheel. What's going to happen over the next 5 years is you're going to, you know, everything's going to feel good. You're going to be going where you're meant to be going. You're going to feel like you're at the top of the world and that everything is going well. It's like lots of transits all coming to place that give you what you need and what you deserve. But there's also here, and I don't know, as I've said in pile 1 and pile 2, it could be outward worldly events rather than being you, because you've got this card here and this card here and this empowerment feeling. But you've got also here that your hands are tied. It's like you can't help other people. And you've got here a compassion feeling here with this card here and the Queen of Cups. So really difficult spread to try and decipher, to be honest. To me, this is what it feels like. It feels, my happy prince, it feels like the next 5 years is you become who you really want to be. It's like if you could do your mood board, you know, for the next 5 years and focus on something that you really wanted to become into reality, you would get it. It's coming towards you. You're going to feel like you've got the world at your heels. You know, you're like the big statue looking over the village at the peasants basically scrabbling around eating apples off the floor. But in that, it's almost like it's a very story, it's like a Chronicle story. You've got here the Eight of Swords down here. It's like the hurt that possibly, some pain, everybody's got some pain, that was in you to have that drive, the Capricorn, the Aries, reflected in here as well, and how hard you work for it. It's almost like a bit of a slight, when I say the word breakdown, I don't mean you have a breakdown, it's like a crack inside you. I don't know what to say. It is the story of the happy prince here, where you become. Let me put another card out. It's almost like you get what you want and you see through the game. It is. It's like that. I know a guy who was driven by, driven by demons. I think he really was, to be honest. His dad, I think he designed London Underground. So his dad was a hard worker. Mum basically supported dad. That's how the whole family was just set up. And he got these fantastic jobs, and he was doing like a similar type of thing. He was the boss of lots of different companies, that type of thing. I don't really understand the world in that way. And he had married 3 or 4 times and lost all the money to his ex-wives and his kids. Fair enough, but that's what happened. So he got to a point where he was like, well, what is the point? And he became a teacher. And he teaches now. It's that thing. It's like what you're yearning for, what you're striving for, the Emperor, and the different parts of the Emperor, the fire, the need for excitement, the need to conquer, to challenge, to achieve things, and also the long-term aim of feeling secure. is something here, but down here there's something missing. So in 5 years' time, I feel you get where you want to be and it's great fun, but you feel that there's something missing. And I feel that is almost like the pathway to your next experience here with the Sacred Heart, where it wouldn't surprise me whether you did take yourself off to an ashram or, you know, do something that was more internal rather than earthly. Emperor is earth, it's square, it's bound, it's constructed and it's formal, it's not ethereal. So this is a really positive spread, but I do feel that you get exactly where you want to be. It's like somebody being an actor or an actress and getting their, you know, winning an Oscar, and then the next day thinking, well, what's next? And I'm thinking, actually, well, I've done that now, so I want to go in a different direction. And I want to do something that has more meaning to my soul rather than to the game we're playing down here. But you've still got to play the game, so it's great, it's fun. You're enjoying it, it's what you're meant to be doing. But then it feels like there's more of a soulful recognition of what's next, because it's almost like getting exactly what you want handed on a plate. And there's hard work there, but handed on a plate, and then you're like, okay, now I can do that. This is the path I'd like to go next. This is the other side of me that I haven't expressed, and I can carry on working, but I may feel empty if I do that. So it's like, it's honestly a playful pile of playing the game, understanding the different sides inside ourselves, going down one route thinking, hey, that was fun, and you're here to experience, you're not here to suffer. We just happen to do that naturally. You're here to experience. You've done a really good job. You may have lots of earth in your chart anyway, or fire to say, I want to experience, I want to enjoy, I want to make something real in this lifetime. Good. That's what you get. And then you think, well, what's next? And then it goes into a more softer, I'm going to say progression there, because it's like progressing into a water sign with your sun, into a different type of motion where you think, okay, this is where I want to go next. I want to, I don't want to use the word compassion again, but it is the Sacred Heart coming from that. I want to do something with more meaning to my soul rather than to the fun bits. And it's all a mixture of it all. You know, it's we're here for a reason. And I think it's to experience, nothing else. And so why not play? Why not do this? But then there's different sides to it. Okay, I'm going to leave that there, pile number 3. I can put it into a concrete situation before I go, but I feel that you've all got enough imagination to do that yourself. But it's good. Say yes to things. Be strong. Be confident. If you've worked hard for something and it's tumbling towards you, don't say no. Say yes. Enjoy it. Stick with it. If you get questions that pop up afterwards, it's a natural development that often happens when we get what we want, and in that will lead you down a path that will have more meaning, but you've still got all that different experience behind you. So good on you. I'm going to love you and leave you. Bye.